Let's talk about the Queen, okay? When the Queen died, I shed a tear. I was a little bit sad. But then when I saw the pictures of her 2 days earlier, what do they call it? Installing the new Prime Minister or put their blessing on him. If I got to be 96 and was still good on my feet and able to smile and still of clear mind, I'll take it, right? If anybody wants more than that, you might be asking for too much. But you know what? One thing that was sad is that she has been a stable force, a stable figure, not just in the Commonwealth, but in our world for virtually my whole life. It was Queen Elizabeth. And she was always there in times of crises. And she sent out condolences to the people of Saskatchewan the day before she died. And she was there. She was a beacon of hope. She was a beacon of grace. She was a beacon of stability. And we don't have enough of that in our world today. We have to be beacons of strength and stability and grace in our lives. And when we die, all the people will say all of these awesome and amazing things about us. And we have the capability of doing that with God's help. Can you imagine at age 25, at the time that she became the leader, to be the leader that she became? Truly amazing. And also I want to talk about what happened on the James Smith Cree First Nations. Very, very, very sad story. If you were in church on Sunday, a bunch of us were receiving these alerts on our phones, and we were wondering what this is all about. And the story got sadder and sadder as the week went on. And hopefully I can give a little bit of understanding. In my mind, the lesson speaks perfectly to what was happening in our province this last week. Okay? All of us, when they said that they saw him on Arcola, I live about a half a mile from Arcola. I'm a guy who leaves the garage door open, car door is unlocked, back door is unlocked. I shouldn't be telling you this, people. You'll probably be coming over. But I started locking the door, closing the garage door, making sure everything was just right. And it did scare us, didn't it? It did scare us and make us a little bit afraid. It gathered our attention. And out of the fear, we became angry, didn't we? We became disgusted. And weren't that sad when the conclusion came to the way it did. And that's part of our human nature. But you know what? This problem is a lot deeper than what you read about in the newspaper and see on television. It's not as simple as you think it might be. It's not just a deranged person who lost his mind and stabbed all of these people and possibly even his brother. The story is much deeper than that. One of the other chiefs of a First Nations in Canada spoke, and his last name was Sanderson too, but I don't know if there was any relation at all. But he said, you have to understand the problem. One of the problems is addiction, alcohol and drug addiction. But he said the root cause of addiction, and I know this, is low self-esteem or no self-esteem. We can become very judgmental and self-righteous. And in the gospel reading, the Pharisees were very self-righteous. I always ask myself, and I ask other people, that when you hear stories like this, if you grew up in the same way that this person did, how would you be any different? Oh, I would be. I would be different. I wouldn't be the same person as that person would be. How do you know? How do you know? All through my life, I've come to try to understand why people are the way they are. And the biggest reason that you are the way you are is because of your upbringing, because of your parents and your surrounding family. That is why you are who you are. I've shared this story countless times, but it's one of the most powerful stories that I've ever heard in my time of ministry. And it was 30-some years ago, maybe almost 40 years ago, when we were pastoring in Prince George. And it was at the time that Clifford Olson was arrested. And we heard the terrible things. Clifford Olson, you all heard his story, okay? And I was always against the death penalty, but when I heard that story, I raised my hand. Let's bring it back in. Carol and I were at a party from her staff from school, and people were talking about this, and people started raising their voices. Let's bring back the death penalty. Yes, let's bring it back. And then one quiet spouse of one of the teachers spoke up. I went to school with Clifford Olson. That got everybody's attention. He said there wasn't a day that went by. This is a sad story. There wasn't a day that went by that he didn't come to school with a scratch, a black eye, a bruise, burn marks on his arm and on his neck and on his face from a father who continually, daily abused him. The room was silent. Nobody wanted to kill him anymore. I don't know this whole story of Miles Sanderson, but I understand that it was not a good story. It was a sad story of neglect, addiction from his parents and the people around him. And if you are neglected as a child, if you are abused as a child, and everybody around you, all of the people that you need in your life are either not there or they are addicted, what kind of chance do you have to live a normal life? Now, we can be the self-righteous, as 90% of Canadians are, and being very judgmental about the First Nation community. But that's not what we're called to a higher standard. We're called to deeper thinking. We're called to try to understand what happened to this lost sheep. And there, but by the grace of God, go you and I. Are you sure you would have been any different? If you would have started drinking at the age of 12 and addicted to cocaine at 14, would you have turned out differently? Would you be a pastor standing in front of a congregation? Not likely. It's not just the year-to-year things. It's the day-to-day. Every day, a 3-year-old wakes up and wondering what kind of scary thing is going to happen to me today. Am I going to survive the day? Am I going to survive to the age of 4? Are my siblings going to survive? Am I going to get struck again today? And what am I going to conclude about myself? That I'm a worthless human being. I do not belong on this face of the earth. And for those who come to the conclusion, that conclusion, it's easy to kill themselves. It's easy for them to do the damage that they did to other people. Christianity is not for the righteous, right? It's not for those who never do anything wrong and are always perfect and come from perfect families. Christianity is for sinners. For those who are down and out. For those who are abused as children and treated like garbage. and have no hope for their future. Jesus said, "This is who I came for. This is who I love." And God's love is greater than anything that you and I have, even as an accumulation. And he loved Miles Sanders, even though Miles Sanders could not love himself. This grace that we live by is amazing. Let's make it even more amazing. Amen. You have come down to the lecture.
Bless